Good morning, everyone. Checking my computer to see if everything is working good. Hey, Vesta, how are you? Thank you for being here. Oh, there it is, finally. How is everybody? Okay, just gotta tweak a few things. There I am. Hi, Kathy. I'm gonna keep my computer really close by. My eyes just are not as good as they used to be. And so it's kind of hard to see things coming up on my phone. And I want to be able to say good morning to everybody. So good morning, Barb and Sandy and Linda, Kathy. Thank you for being here. So we got a really cute card today. And it's super easy. Oh, sorry about that. Super easy. You'll be making these little blocks and stashing them so that you can throw in a quilt block whenever you're making a card. Okay, so hi Sharon and hi Gail. What? Gail, you get to see it live. And you're working? Oh my goodness, okay. Hi Diane. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. Things happening in Stampin' Up. Let's see. Well, the joint special is over. That ended at the end of the month. The kit collection, that's over. I got registered for On Stage, the convention in March. I almost put off registering till today. Had I done that, I'd be on a waiting list because it sold out like in, I don't know, between 4 and 5 hours. So I'm grateful that I got in, and soon will be the task of figuring out how I'm going to get there. I'm leaning towards taking a flight. If there's anybody watching and you are going, or you live in the Raleigh area, maybe we could find time to get together and meet each other and put faces to our names and get to know each other a little bit. Think about that. Reach out to me. Maybe we can set something up as a meeting place. Coffee, something like that. Hi, Holly. And Elaine's here. Susan. Okay. So I'm going to flip the camera around. And as I'm doing that, say good morning to each other. And we're going to get started on a really fun card. Okay, I'm going to do this slowly. Certainly don't want to get anybody. And you don't need to see my whole desk either. Okay, so let's flip this. Okay, there we go. Remember that book I was telling you about last week? Oh my goodness, I've got so many things on my desk. Well, I treated myself for my birthday, which I want to say thank you to everyone who sent me a birthday card and sent me birthday wishes. I appreciate that. I hit the big 62. I don't feel 62, so it's kind of strange to say that number because I certainly in my mind am not. But I got that book by Barbara Brackman. The one thing I'm disappointed in is that I thought it was going to have the history to the quilt blocks, but it doesn't. But what I cannot be upset about, let's see, I'm going to see if I can't. Zoom back out a little bit. Hi, Lori. Oh, excuse me, of all mornings, to have A frog in my throat and no water. Okay, so it doesn't have the history. But what I can't complain about is that there are over 4,000 quilt blocks in this book. Now, mind you, they all cannot, they all don't fit for doing cards. But over 4,000 patterns here. And a index in the back with all the names to these quilt blocks. So at least when I have a block and I know the name, and the same block will have sometimes several names, at least then I can go on the internet and do a search and try to get more information for you, okay? So it is an amazing book. I'm glad that I got it. And there are a lot of local Ohioans that contributed to this book when I was reading in the back, the references. I mean local, like the next towns over from Toledo. So that was really interesting to me. And I wonder if they're from any of the quilt shops that are over that way. So I just wanted to show you this beautiful book, and that it was my birthday present to myself. And I think it's really going to be a good tool to continue making quilt cards, looking at patterns and see what we can do when we're limited to such a small area on our cards. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And for a while, I'm going to have my plastic protector because I certainly don't want anything to happen to that cover. Okay, so I'm going to be working with Unbounded Love for my sentiments. And I'm using, I just cut some circles from the circle dies that are included because they will fit the sentiments that I stamped with. Okay, so they fit the sentiments. So using a couple of those. And we're gonna, I made some samples for you, and I used hope, love, faith, and peace. Very simple words that pack a lot of meaning right now. So that's what I'm using. And then I also went to the Perennial Postage dies. You don't have to give your piece of Designer Series paper an edge, but I thought that it just added a little extra something. So if you don't have a die like the deckled rectangles or this die, don't let that stop you. Just cut straight edges. Okay, I just want to do something a little different. So that's the product that I pulled. Hi, Peggy. You have snow. How big are the circles? Okay. Let me measure that real quick for you. So one of them, Linda, is... Oh, I don't want that ruler. I want this one. Just a little shy of just a little over 1.25 inches across. That's the big one. And then there was a smaller one that this is about 1.125 inches. So that's how big those circles are. Okay. Hi, Louise. Good morning, good morning. Hey, Tony's on here. Tony and Jean, I saw. Hey, Lynn. Oh, and Lynn, thank you. That was some happy email to open. And I'm really excited about that. I'm one who, I don't track my numbers. I just do this because I love it and I love to share. So when I get little surprises like that, it really does make my day, because that's not even what I'm concentrating on. Hi, Diane. Okay, so, and Pam. What are we using today? Well, the first thing I looked at was a piece of designer series paper. And I have been loving this pattern from the Regal Winter ever since I got the package. And they have a blue and purple version of this also. It's a pack of designer series paper that when I look at it as a whole, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. But if you give patterns, big patterns, bold patterns like that, a chance by cutting them down into smaller pieces, then it's, for me, it was daunting looking at a 12 by 12 and figuring out, what am I going to do with this? But this was my favorite. This is my favorite out of that pack. And the first thing I did was I started looking at all the colors. Now, our quilt blocks are going to be just 2 colors. And so I was looking for a color within this pattern that was neutral enough that I could use it on any number of card bases and their color. And gray is a really nice neutral that can bring a lot of colors together. If I would have picked this pink, Pretty in Pink is in here. If I would have picked any of these bolder colors, it might not have really looked real, real good on the Real Red card base or the Moody Mauve Pebbled Path I pulled out of here. So I looked for a neutral that would tie well with the designer series paper and bring in that card base, and it doesn't look like so many things are going on with it. So I picked a gray, and I was using Pebbled Path as one of my card bases. So I went with Gray Granite. Gray Granite is, to me, it's like a brown gray. So I thought it worked really well, especially with Pebbled Path. Mind you that they're both like named after stone, so they should work well together, right? And basic white I chose because white with another color is really easy for me to teach. And then if you want to start mixing colors in your process after you've learned the quilt block, then you can play with different backgrounds and switching those colors up. But white is real easy for me to teach you with. So I'm not sure which card base I am going to end up using, but all of these will work really well. And I'm going to get all of these pieces out of the way. And what I want you to do, if you're crafting along, because on Wednesdays I post a prep sheet, and that way if you want to work with me, you can. So in my Gray Granite, I've got this large square, which I did with the stylish shapes, just to give it interest. You don't have to have that, okay? This is not quite 2.5 inches square, but if you were cutting your own squares, you could cut a 2.5 inch square. And if you want it any smaller before we put our quilt blocks on, you could trim it down a little bit. So I have one of those in basic white, one in Gray Granite. And then I have 2-inch squares of Gray Granite and basic white. And then we have 4 squares that are 1/2 inch in both colors. Okay. Take the 2-inch squares. And what I want you to do is I want you to score. If you don't have a scoring tool, then bring out your pencil and a ruler. But I want you to score a 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So a 1/2 inch, turn it. And I'm working with this side of my trimmer and the lines that are on it. And you're going to do that to both of those squares. And one more. Just make sure that you're using your scoring blade. So here I've got my scored piece there, and then we're going to bring our second piece over and do the same thing. These score lines are not going to matter because when you quilt your block, it should take out the lines, but you're not going to see the lines anyway. Okay, so here we've got our 2 pieces, and we can put that away. So we've got our 2 pieces, and now what I want you to do is bring in those 1/2 inch squares. Hi Doris, hey Robin, Marilyn, good morning. Take those 1/2 inch squares. I want you to cut them in half diagonally. I want you to keep your pairs together. I just find that if you keep the two pieces together, they play together nicely. So I'm just going to put a corner in my snips and cut to the opposite corner so that you have 2 half square triangles. And I'm just going to try and keep these together. So go ahead and you can cut your gray and your white. Sometimes they do get mixed up, but I'm going to just try and keep them together. Okay. We're having some pretty good weather here in Northwest Ohio for it being the first week into November. We're in the 60s. My husband's outside mulching the leaves. We've been doing some raking and some mulching. I like to fill my flower beds usually with at least 1 or 2 rounds. Help kind of just cover up the young plants that were popping up right there at the end of the season. I had some cardinal flower in my garden, which the hummingbirds love. And it went crazy towards the end of the season. I have so many babies. And so I wanted to get some leaves on top of them, kind of incubate them. And hopefully they're all still there come next spring, because I am just going to have loads of cardinal flower. So we got all of our half square triangles done. And now what you want to do is you're going to use your white triangles with your gray, with your colored cardstock, whatever you're using. So the white goes with the gray and the gray goes with the white. So just opposite. And I am going to start you out with where we're going to put our triangles, and then I'm going to kind of go a little, well, I can't go fast forward. We're almost going to have to do these together, but it does not take long. So I'm going to start with the square of basic white, and what we're going to do We're not going to put anything in the corners of our square. Our half square triangles are going to sit within this rectangle on all four sides. Okay? And what you're going to do is that 45-degree angle of your half square triangle is going to fit right down in the corners. And we are just going to go all the way around. You see where I'm going with it? So we're going to, I started, did I? I don't think I did. Okay, so let's just get going with this. But that's what you're going to do. And you're going to repeat that with the other square. Now sometimes it can get a little hard to see your score line with your lighting. If that happens, just pick it up, hold it. I'm not pushing these pieces all the way down because if I need to move any of them, I can do that. I want to focus on having a straight line right across the bottom. And then just keep moving. Now, if you want to, you can put just like a little bit of glue down here in that corner. And then lay your pieces in. Just make sure that you've got enough adhesive that they're going to stay down. I know that handling the little triangles can be tedious. Move that one over just a little bit. And then I'm just going to keep rotating my block. And with this fine tip applicator, I can get some glue down there without having too much. Another thing that you can look for when you're building your block is that just think of these corners having little tiny bow ties in the corners. Oh, that one. That triangle I snipped. There we go. We got them playing together good now. I'm like, oh, that's a little short. It's a little blunt near the tip too, but that's okay. This putting the glue down in the corners does make it go a little bit faster. You just want to make sure. I'm going to move this one over a little bit. Again, those score lines are just a guide for you. Let's move this one a little bit closer together. I can still move my pieces a little bit. And you have a star. So you're going to have a star with both of your squares. I told you it was easy. Easy peasy. This is a block that you can whip up a quilt card really easy. It doesn't take a lot of prep. You just need your base and you need some half square triangles. And you can create this simple star. Put some glue down there. And again, because of the size that we're using, this 2-inch block, these are small enough that you can tuck them somewhere into a quilt card or a card that you're making and make it a quilt card. The card isn't, then your card isn't totally based around the quilt block. It will give you the room to play with more designer series paper and some, you know, more elements to your card. If this was a 4-inch square, it's basically the focal point of the whole card, and it then doesn't always always leave you the ability or the opportunity to bring more into your card, because of the size. It's the whole show. Okay. And with these smaller quilt blocks, I wanted something that if handling small pieces is hard on you, that at least these pieces may be big enough that it's doable for you. You know, it's not like those 1/16 or some of those crazy sizes we find ourselves doing in order to make that wow block. Okay, so now you have the same stars, but we reversed the colors. And this was another thing that I wanted to show you, was how different the same block can look when you change where those two colors go. Okay? Hi, Mary. Hi, Janice and Pam. Hey, Jill. I know, Jill. I know. So where you place light versus dark will change the feel of your block. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to just come over here to my machine, and my go-to is the subtle embossing folder, but we all know it's retired. So if I want to show you something current, I think I'm going to break out the 3D or the timber embossing folder, because it has those wood grain lines on it. I don't want anything too bold, and that's just going back to, you know, my style. I'm going to flip these over because I want the pattern to be recessed into my blocks, or debossed. So I'm going to put them in upside down, and I'm going to run them through the machine real quick. I wish Stampin' Up! Would do some throwbacks on product and bring back that subtle embossing folder. I was so heartbroken when it retired. Okay, so when I flip these over, you can see that my pattern is actually laying down into the cardstock instead of it sitting on top like it does if I flip them over. Just makes it flatter and smoother looking. Okay, so got those. And now we're going to layer them with our larger squares. So your star that has the dark background is going to go on the white. Your predominantly white star is going to go on whatever color you chose to use as that other color. Okay, so let me bring in my Tombow. And because the stitched square is not like two, it's under 2.5. I think it's like 2 3/8. I'm still just gonna center my block on there the best that I can. It's still square, so my 2-inch block should fit in there. It just doesn't have as wide of a border had it been a 2.5-inch square, which I'm okay with, especially with this layout. Oh, my tummy. This is the second week in a row it's growled like that while I'm doing a live. I sure hope that doesn't come through the microphone. It was pretty loud. Okay, so there are our 2 quilt blocks. Clean up this Tombow just a little bit. It's given me some clogging issues there. Okay, so now we have our 2 quilt blocks. We just reversed where we put the colors. So now we got to put them into a card. So your card's going to have 2 quilt blocks. And I've got samples to show you of all 4 that I made ahead of time. I'm going to bring in my background piece. Now, what I didn't put in the prep, and as card makers we just automatically go to, is we've got a, I believe this is 4-inch by 5 1/4 piece for the inside of your card. It wasn't on your prep sheet, but usually you have those because you're going to put something on the inside. I think I want to try a different color than what I was going to show you. Where are my samples? Because this will tell me what I want to do. I think I'm going to go with the Moody Mauve. Oh, and this is a really good one to show you. When I was cutting this, I don't know if you can see it, but can you see how my blade was getting a little dull? I'm going to show you the same thing that Mary showed you yesterday. If you caught Mary Nabe's live, is I've got a little nail file. I got this back when I was wearing Color Street nails a lot a couple years ago, and I don't wear them as much anymore, but I do like, this isn't the nail file that comes with their nails, but it's small like that. And I'm just buffing off that edge. And then you can also wet your finger. Now don't give yourself a paper cut, but if you wet it a little bit, those fibers will lay down too. I'm going to keep this card, so when I give away cards, don't worry, I'm not going to give you one that I laid down the edge like that, okay? I just thought of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Julie, come on. Okay, so that was scored, and just going to burnish that score line. Okay, so we got our card base. And what we can go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue my Designer Series paper to the front. And if it's got a direction, you're going to want to pay attention to that. This one really doesn't. So there we've got that. I'm going to go ahead and just put my insert in. And now we're just going to play around with placement on our card front with our quilt blocks. So what I wanted, the card sketch that I had seen, I thought looked like you were just throwing some swatches down on a surface. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put these not straight up. I'm going to tilt them just a little bit. What I'm looking for is I want this just to kind of look like I threw these two squares down on the table, and this is just kind of like where they landed. Okay? And once I like that, then I'm going to go ahead and put them down. I'm not going to press really, really hard. I'm just going to throw that down there because I may want to move that bottom one around a little bit. And I just kind of want to toss that down there. I want him just a little bit more squared up. There we go. And once you like it, then you can press them into place. Now, options. You have options. You could have glued the bottom one down, and you could use dimensionals and pop the one that's sitting up or sitting on top. You could pop that up for more dimension. We've got a lot of different things that we can do. And then I've got my different words here, and they were stamped in Pebbled Path. I didn't want a black. Gray Granite was too light. Pebbled Path is like that perfect darker gray, a brown gray that works really well and doesn't look so like in your face and so stark. Okay, so I use that. I'm going to be really sad when that color retires this year or with the next catalog. That one, this is the last year for that in color, so I'm going to be bummed again. And let's use, I'm thinking of my colors. What does this make me feel? This could really, it's going to fit all of them. If I wanted this to be maybe a sympathy card, I could put peace on there. Faith is always a good one. Love, I want to show you my sample that I did for that one, because I used the Cherry Cobbler cardstock as my base and kind of wanted to give it more of a Valentine card feel. Let's use Faith. I like this one. And we're just going to put a dimensional on the back of that. And I am just going to add another layer right about there. And then the only other thing that I'm going to do for this card is maybe put some gems on it. There's enough going on. I don't want to keep adding because it's covering up that designer series paper that I wanted to use. So what I think I'm going to do is, all of these colors are in this piece of designer series paper, and these are the adhesive backed dappled dots, and these colors go perfect with this designer series paper. Okay, so I think I'm going to use, and I think these are the dots that may be part of the suite that has the ducks. Why don't you want to pick up on me? I need to fix my putty here. There we go. And I'm just going to set some of these around. But I'm going to mix the two colors. I'm going to mix the, like the Gray Granite, or the, I don't know, that might be Pebbled Path even. I'm going to mix that with the pink. And maybe put a pink one right there. Now they're going to blend in with my designer series paper. That's okay. Let's maybe put one right there. One right there. And I want to do 5. So I think I'm going to put a tiny gray one. So I'm going to have a little cluster of 3 up here. I did a cluster of 3 up here, and I did 2 over here. Now, if I want to bring attention to my card a little bit more, I'm going to bring in Winkostella. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find some dark little pockets, and I'm just going to color them in with some Winkostella just to bring some shine to some little dark pockets. So it's going to be very subtle, but this will bring a little bit more sparkle to the card. The colors are a little muted. But I'm just kind of like painting some little areas there. That way, when the card is tilted a little bit, it'll give it some shine. You can do as much or as little as you like. Maybe even putting some where the embellishments are will help bring your eye to the embellishments. We can just kind of expand this little pocket here. But I'm just pretending like I'm just sitting here painting. Maybe take this up there a little bit more. Just giving it a little bit of sparkle. How much or how little you use, it's up to you. But just giving it a little bit of interest with the Winkostella. So that is our card. Now I finished some samples and I added a little bit more designer series paper to them. You know how I like to put a half a strip on the back, and I'll show you because I zhuzhed them up a little bit. But I want to show you how different the feels can be when you change your colors. Okay, so here I did one in Faith, using the Faith, and this is the Pretty in Pink cardstock, and I used the textured metal gems with this one. Put my strip, an accent strip in the center of the card, and I put my strip on the back. All I need to go do is to finish these cards off is to put my little button, my signature label on the back of the cards. So that's the one that's the Pretty in Pink. And then this one, this background is the Pebbled Path. I think it's beautiful with the Blackberry Bliss, the darker colors that are in that designer series paper. This one says Hope. And I mixed the Peach Pie and the Pretty in Pink dappled dots there. But this one says Hope. And again, I put an accent strip there in the inside. Here's the one I did with Love. And with the Cherry Cobbler cardstock, I thought this had a feel that I could use this for Valentine's Day if I wanted to. And these real flat, sparkly excuse me, stems are from this pack here, and they're called iridescent adhesive discs. So I used the red ones from there and gave it a little sparkle so I could use that one for Valentine's Day. And then this one has the word peace, and here I used the gray and the peach pie dappled dots. It's very subtle, and it is on the Moody Mauve. Is this Moody Mauve? Am I saying something wrong? No, it is Moody Mauve. What was the color that we had that was kind of similar to Moody Mauve? But here are some samples to show you that I already had done using those 2 quilt blocks. Again, I went by an example of a card sketch where they just had a couple squares thrown down there, and the card sketch had a circle. It had a few more pieces, but I decided not to use those elements. I just took the 2 squares in the circle. I wanted, again, I wanted this to be about changing where our light and our dark is placed, to show you how different the same quilt block can look like, but it's also one of those quilt blocks that is easy peasy to put together. So those are my samples, and I'm going to give my samples away. So I'm going to give the 4 cards away, and if you want to put in the, what do I want the keyword to be? So that block is also, it's known by a couple of different names, but if you want to put Sawtooth Star in the comments, then that will be the keyword for the drawing. And we're going to give this, you know, a couple of days, because I want those who want to catch the replay a chance also. So just comment Sawtooth Star if you would like to have a chance to win one of them. And Lori says Moody Mauve is her favorite. Rococo Rose, that's it. I was like, I cannot remember. I know we had a mauve, but it was just escaping me. So thank you, Holly, for that. And this is it. This live got done a little early, but it was because I wanted to keep the card simple. Could have added more, but I really want to start leaning towards simple quilt blocks, so they go together very easily, and I want to keep them the focus of the card. So sometimes the layouts might get a little, you know, have more to them, more layers and things like that. But I think if we start out with the simpler version, then we can see areas where if we want to jazz it up a little bit. For instance, you could put a cluster of some greenery behind your sentiment if you wanted to. You could add another layer. This could, instead of designer series paper, this could be another solid color, but you ran it through an embossing folder to give it texture and a different background. So we start out simple, we find where we can step it up, and then you can get to the level of card maker that you are, whether you're a beginner, whether you're casual, whether you're avid. When we start with simple, we have so many directions we can go, and just keep building on that. Okay? So everybody have a blessed rest of your Thursday. Thank you for being here with me, and I will see you next Thursday with another card. I don't see any questions, and so with that, I am going to just say goodbye for now, and please post pictures of your stars over in the community group that's called Quilt Cards and More, where we share our cards to inspire others, and they share their cards to inspire us. Everybody have a really blessed day. Thank you for the hearts.